Welcome back, explorers of history. Today, we journey beyond the hills of early Rome to uncover the peoples who surrounded and shaped the young city: the Greeks, the Latins, and the Sabines. These neighbors were not just distant communities. They were active participants in the story of Rome, influencing its culture, religion, politics, and military identity. To understand Rome's rise, we must first understand the people with whom it shared its landscape, exchanged ideas, waged wars, and forged alliances. So join me as we traverse the fertile valleys, coastal settlements, and hilltop villages of early Italy, witnessing how interaction with these neighbors helped forge the Roman character. The Greeks were perhaps the most influential external force on early Rome. Colonies along the southern coast of Italy, collectively called Magna Grecia, were vibrant centers of commerce, art, and learning. From these settlements, Greek influence spread inland through trade and migration. Romans encountered Greek pottery, sculptures, and architectural styles and gradually adapted them, blending Greek aesthetics with native traditions. Temples in Rome, for instance, show clear Greek influence in design, with the use of columns and stylized pediments, yet they maintained distinctly Roman functions and rituals. Language and writing were also affected. The Romans adapted the Greek alphabet via the Etruscans, establishing the foundation of Latin script that would endure for centuries. Greek myths and religion left an indelible mark on early Roman spirituality. The tales of gods, heroes, and epic battles were not only entertainment, they offered models of morality, heroism, and divine favor. Roman deities often absorbed Greek characteristics, creating a rich pantheon that blended local and Hellenic elements. Venus, Mercury, and Hercules were among the most prominent examples, and their stories were celebrated in festivals, public rituals, and household devotion. Greek theatrical traditions also shaped Roman performances, including plays and ceremonies performed during religious and civic festivals. The Greeks were not merely neighbors, they were teachers, introducing Romans to urban planning, philosophy, literature, and forms of governance that would resonate for generations. To the north and east of Rome lay the Latins, a people who shared language, customs, and a closely intertwined history with the Romans. Early Rome itself was part of the Latin League, a loose confederation of cities that traded, intermarried, and occasionally went to war with one another. The Latins influenced Rome in numerous ways. Their political customs, assemblies, and approaches to land division informed Roman civic life. Archaeological evidence, including Latin inscriptions, pottery, and fortified settlements, shows that Latins and Romans shared material culture and participated in joint religious observances. Festivals like the Feriae Latinae, celebrated on Mons Albanus, involved representatives from multiple Latin cities, reflecting the interwoven spiritual and civic life of these communities. Yet the relationship between Romans and Latins was not always peaceful. Competition over territory, resources, and influence led to frequent conflicts. Early Roman kings, such as Romulus and his successors, conducted military campaigns against neighboring Latin cities, sometimes capturing land and imposing tribute, while at other times forging alliances to secure strategic partnerships. These interactions taught Romans the value of diplomacy, negotiation, and military organization, laying the groundwork for the complex system of alliances and wars that would characterize the Republic. The Latins were both teachers and rivals, shaping Roman political culture through cooperation and contest. To the northeast, the Sabines were another significant neighbor whose influence on early Rome was profound. The legendary story of the rape of the Sabine women illustrates the deep connections, tensions, and eventual integration of the Sabines into Roman society. While the tale is mythologized, it reflects historical patterns of alliance and assimilation. The Sabines contributed to Roman religious practice, military organization, and social norms. For example, several Roman priests and religious offices, such as the Flamens, were influenced by Sabine customs. Archaeological sites in the Apennine Hills reveal fortified Sabine settlements, ritual sites, and evidence of trade with Rome, confirming that contact was both material and spiritual, not merely legendary. Culturally, the Sabines were vital transmitters of ritual and morality. Romans adopted certain Sabine festivals, legal concepts, and practices related to family and kinship. The emphasis on discipline, loyalty, and communal duty in Roman society reflects Sabine ideals, blended with local and Latin traditions. Military practices, including early formations and strategies, also drew inspiration from Sabine techniques, demonstrating that Rome's martial culture was a synthesis of multiple neighboring influences. Interactions with Greeks, Latins, and Sabines were not limited to culture and politics. They were deeply economic. Trade routes crisscrossed the Italian peninsula, connecting settlements with markets, resources, and artisans. Greek colonies provided luxury goods, wine, olive oil, and pottery, while Latin and Sabine territories offered grain, livestock, and timber. Markets became places of cultural exchange, where Romans absorbed foreign practices, ideas, and innovations, adapting them to their own context. This economic interdependence encouraged alliances, marriages, and agreements, shaping Rome's social and political networks. Military encounters with neighbors were equally formative. Early Romans learned strategy, fortification techniques, and the organization of citizen soldiers from their interactions with Latins and Sabines. The construction of early defensive walls, roads, and watchtowers reflects lessons learned from neighboring conflicts. Festivals and ceremonies often commemorated victories, sacrifices, and treaties, reinforcing the link between military success and religious devotion. Even warfare, therefore, was embedded in ritual, morality, and cultural exchange, shaping the collective Roman consciousness. Religion and mythology were central in these interactions. Romans borrowed and adapted gods, myths, and ritual forms from their neighbors. Greek and Latin deities merged with Roman gods, creating a syncretic pantheon that incorporated divine wisdom, martial prowess, fertility, and household protection. Temples and shrines often bore stylistic features from neighbors, while domestic rituals included practices learned from Sabine and Latin kin. Divination, augury, and sacrificial rites were shared across communities, emphasizing that religion was both a private and public bond, linking Romans to their neighbors. Archaeological evidence underlines the depth of these connections. Excavations in early Roman and neighboring settlements reveal pottery, inscriptions, tools, religious artifacts, and architectural remnants that demonstrate trade, cultural borrowing, and shared practices. Greek-style ceramics appear in early Roman homes. Latin inscriptions document legal and religious agreements. Sabine hilltop fortifications mirror defensive techniques adopted by Romans. These tangible traces confirm what myths and historical accounts describe. Early Rome was not isolated, but engaged in continuous exchange, negotiation, and adaptation. Through these interactions, early Rome developed a unique identity. It absorbed influences from multiple neighbors, combining them with native traditions to create a society capable of resilience, innovation, and expansion. Cultural borrowing, military learning, political negotiation, and ritual adaptation created a city that was both familiar to its neighbors and distinctly Roman. The lessons learned from these communities would guide Rome through the Kingdom era and into the Republic, providing models for diplomacy, governance, and civic unity. The stories of Greek traders, Latin allies, and Sabine neighbors were not merely historical events. They became part of Rome's collective memory. They were retold in myths, celebrated in rituals, and codified in civic practices. Romulus's negotiation with Latin cities, the integration of Sabine families, and the adoption of Greek knowledge were framed as moral and civic lessons, teaching Romans how to navigate alliance, conflict, and cultural exchange. Through these narratives, early Rome understood itself not as a lone city, but as a hub of interaction, negotiation, and synthesis. The influence of these neighbors extended into daily life. Greek artistic motifs appeared in homes. Latin legal customs influenced property and family law. Sabine rituals guided family and religious observances. Citizens were raised in a milieu where cultural awareness and adaptation were essential, preparing them to participate in a growing, interconnected urban society. Social norms, festivals, and civic duties reflected a blend of native and external practices, ensuring continuity while fostering innovation. Even the physical landscape of early Rome bears traces of these interactions. Roads connecting Roman settlements with Latin and Sabine territories facilitated trade and military movement. Sacred sites and temples incorporated architectural styles from neighbors. Markets and public spaces served as centers of cultural exchange, reinforcing the interdependence of these communities. Rome was both a beneficiary and a contributor, shaping and being shaped by those around it. As we look back on these formative centuries, it becomes clear that early Rome's identity was forged not in isolation, but through contact, conflict, and collaboration with its neighbors. Greeks, Latins, and Sabines provided models, challenges, and inspiration, contributing to the development of religion, governance, military organization, and social norms. By understanding these interactions, we gain insight into the complexity of Rome's rise and the interconnectedness of early Italian societies. The story of Rome's early neighbors teaches us that civilization is rarely the product of a single culture or people. It emerges from dialogue, adaptation, and shared experience. Through trade, marriage, warfare, and ritual, Rome absorbed, transformed, and built upon the cultural and political foundations laid by its neighbors. The city's ability to integrate external influences while maintaining its own identity would become a hallmark of Roman resilience and ingenuity. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Rome's early neighbors. If you enjoyed learning how Greeks, Latins, and Sabines influenced the young city, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to stay updated. In our next video, we will explore the rise of the Roman Senate, uncovering how Rome transitioned from monarchy to a structured civic government, and how early political institutions shaped the destiny of the city. Until then, keep exploring, because history lives in every connection, every encounter, and every story waiting to be told.